Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. You spent decades working hard, raising your family, paying your dues. You finally made it to retirement. You were supposed to be relaxed by now. You were supposed to wake up without an alarm, drink your coffee slowly, take that morning walk without checking your phone every 5 minutes. So why do you still feel stressed? Why does your chest tighten up before you even check your voicemail? Why do you feel guilty for enjoying a quiet Tuesday afternoon? Why do some conversations leave you feeling more exhausted than a full day at the office ever did? Here's what nobody tells you when you retire. The drama doesn't end. Sometimes it follows you right out the door, and it's wearing the face of someone you've known for 30 years. Today, we're talking about the 7 unexpected signs that a friend, maybe your oldest, closest friend, is actually sabotaging your peace during retirement. And more importantly, we're going to talk about what you can do about it. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to see some things very differently. Sign number 1. They treat your free time like their emergency hotline. You remember what it was like when you were working? Your schedule was packed, lunch was eaten at your desk, phone calls were kept short. Everyone understood. You were busy. But now that you're retired, something strange has happened. One particular friend has started treating your open calendar like an all-access pass to their emotional drama. It starts subtly. A call here, a text there, but over time you notice a pattern. They call at odd hours. They don't ask if it's a good time, they just start talking. And the conversations are always about them, their problems, their worries, their family issues, their health complaints. And when you try to wrap things up, they get hurt. They use phrases like, "Well, it's not like you have anywhere to be," or "I figured you'd have time since you're retired." That right there is a red flag. Your retirement time is not a resource for other people to consume. Your open schedule is yours. It belongs to your rest, your hobbies, your health, your joy. The moment someone starts treating your time as their emotional dumping ground, something needs to change. What you can do, start gently but firmly establishing call times. Something like, "I love our chats. Mornings work best for me, but I'm usually unavailable after lunch." You don't need to explain why. You don't owe anyone your afternoon. Before we go any further, drop a comment below and tell me, have you experienced this? Has a friend ever made you feel guilty for simply enjoying your retirement? You are not alone, and I want to hear your story. Sign number 2, the must be nice comments that cut deeper than they look. On the surface, must be nice sounds almost harmless, maybe even complimentary. But when it comes from a certain friend, in a certain tone, at a certain moment, it lands like a punch. You mention that you took a pottery class on Wednesday morning. They say, "Must be nice to have that kind of time." You post a photo from your afternoon walk along the waterfront. They comment, "Must be nice." You share that you've been sleeping in, reading more, finally working on that garden, and every single time, there it is. Must be nice. What's actually happening here? These aren't compliments. They're little guilt injections. They're designed, consciously or not, to make you feel bad for enjoying what you earned. They're laced with resentment, and they're trying to pull you back into the same stress and anxiety that your friend is still living in. People who are genuinely happy for you don't respond to your joy with loaded sighs and passive comparisons. People who celebrate you say, "That sounds wonderful. Tell me more about it." What you can do, the next time you hear "must be nice," try a disarming response like, "It really is. I worked hard for this, and I'm so grateful." That's it. You don't need to shrink. You don't need to apologize for your good life. Sign number 3. They keep dragging up the past. This one can be sneaky because it often comes wrapped in nostalgia. Old friends have history with you, and history can be a beautiful thing. Shared memories, inside jokes, decades of trust. But there's a version of this that isn't beautiful at all. Some people use your shared history as a weapon. They bring up old mistakes, old embarrassments, old versions of you that no longer exist, and they do it right when you're starting to feel good about who you've become. Maybe you've been working on your health, and they remind you of that embarrassing incident from 20 years ago. Maybe you found a new passion for painting or hiking or travel, and they say, "You? Really? I remember when you couldn't even," and fill in the blank. They're not reminiscing, they're anchoring. They're trying to keep you tethered to an old identity because your growth makes them uncomfortable. If you grow, it shines a light on what they haven't done with their own life, and that's threatening to them. Who you were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, is not who you are today. And a real friend celebrates the person you've become, rather than using the past to diminish the present. What you can do? You can acknowledge the memory without accepting the label. "Yeah, that was a long time ago. I've changed a lot since then." And then change the subject. You don't need to defend your evolution to someone who isn't growing alongside you. Quick pause. If you're nodding along and thinking of someone specific right now, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Every week, we talk about how to protect your peace, set better boundaries, and actually enjoy the retirement you worked so hard for. You don't want to miss it. Sign number 4. They question everything new about you. Retirement is often the first real opportunity many of us have to rediscover ourselves. Without the structure of a career, without the daily demands of raising children, you finally have space to ask, "Who am I now? What do I actually enjoy?" And maybe you've started exploring that. Maybe you joined a yoga class, started meditating, took up bird watching, or began volunteering at the local library. Maybe you've been eating differently, exercising more, or cutting back on alcohol. A good friend's response to this? Curiosity, encouragement. "Tell me about that. What made you want to try it?" A friend who is quietly threatened by your growth, they question everything. "Yoga at your age? Isn't that a little extreme?" Or, "You're always trying something new. Remember when you went through that whole phase where you were going to learn guitar?" They frame your growth as a phase, a quirk, something you'll eventually abandon, just like everything else. This kind of subtle dismissal is designed to make you second-guess yourself, to make your healthy new habits feel silly or unstable. And if you back off from those habits, if you stop going to yoga, if you quietly drop the meditation, then what happens? You drift back toward the same patterns, the same social routines, the same energy you were trying to leave behind. What you can do? You don't need their approval. That's the whole point of this chapter of your life. You are free. Your new routines don't need to be defended or explained. Simply say, "I'm really enjoying it. It's made a big difference for me." And leave it there. Number 5. Every interaction leaves you feeling drained. This is one of the most important signs, and it's also one of the easiest to dismiss. Because when it's a longtime friend, we tell ourselves, "That's just how they are." We minimize the feeling. We assume we're being too sensitive. But pay attention to how you feel after you talk to this person, not during, after. Do you feel lighter, energized, like you had a genuine, nourishing connection? Or do you feel tired, irritable, vaguely anxious, like something was taken from you? There's a very real phenomenon that therapists sometimes call an energy vampire, not in the dramatic, supernatural sense, but in a very practical one. Some people process their stress by externalizing it, and if you're available, patient, and kind, which you probably are, you become the container for all of that externalized stress. The exhaustion you feel isn't weakness, it's information. Your body and your nervous system are telling you something important. This relationship, as it currently exists, is costing you more than it's giving you. What you can do? Start keeping a simple mental note or even a journal of how you feel before and after interactions with the key people in your life. The pattern will become very clear very quickly, and clarity, even when it's uncomfortable, is always a gift. Sign number 6. They make you feel guilty for having boundaries. Here's the thing about boundaries that nobody talks about enough. Setting one is only half the work. The other half is holding it when someone pushes back.
and some friends push back hard. Maybe you told them you couldn't talk after 7 p.m. because that's your quiet wind down time, and they called at 8:30 and made you feel like you were abandoning them. Maybe you told them you needed to skip the weekly lunch because you had a doctor's appointment, and they made it into a whole conversation about how you're changing and not the same person anymore. Healthy people respect boundaries. They might not always love them, but they respect them. They understand that your needs are just as valid as theirs. Someone who responds to your boundaries with guilt, pouting, silence, or accusations, that's not friendship, that's control. It might be unconscious, it might come from a place of their own fear and loneliness, but the impact on you is the same regardless of the intention. You are allowed to protect your time and energy without guilt. Full stop. You are not responsible for managing the emotional responses of another adult to your reasonable limits. What you can do? When the guilt trip comes, try a calm, neutral response. I understand you're disappointed. I still need to stick with what I said. And then stop explaining. The more you explain, the more you invite negotiation. Boundaries are not negotiations. I really want to know, which of these 6 signs hit closest to home for you? Drop a number in the comments. Just the number. You don't even have to explain. But if you want to share your story, I'm here, and so is this community. We read every comment.
Sign number 7. You feel stress symptoms coming back and the calls seem connected. This is the sign that most people overlook because it's physical, and we tend to separate our physical well-being from our social lives, as if they exist in different compartments. They don't. Stress is stress, whether it comes from a demanding boss or a demanding friend. The body doesn't distinguish. And after years of working hard, many of us became experts at ignoring our stress symptoms, the tight shoulders, the interrupted sleep, the low-grade anxiety humming beneath the surface. If those symptoms started fading when you retired, that's wonderful. That's exactly what was supposed to happen. But if you've noticed them creeping back, and if you pay attention to when they spike, you might find a very uncomfortable correlation. They get worse before certain calls. They spike after certain conversations. Your Sunday nights feel anxious because you know a certain friend is going to call on Monday morning. That's your body trying to protect you. That's your nervous system waving a flag. Stress symptoms are not random. They follow patterns, and those patterns point to sources. What you can do? Listen to your body, track the pattern, and then make a decision, not out of anger or resentment, but out of genuine self-care. What does this relationship need to look like in order for you to feel well? That's the question only you can answer. Reclaiming your peace. Practical steps that actually work. Step 1. Adopt the peace over proximity rule. Proximity, how long you've known someone, how close you live, how often you've seen each other, is not the same as compatibility. You can love someone deeply and still recognize that regular contact with them is harmful to your well-being. The peace over proximity rule is simple. Your mental and emotional peace takes priority over social obligation. That doesn't mean you cut everyone off. It means you stop accepting suffering as the price of loyalty. Step 2. Develop a calm, clear script. You don't need to have a dramatic confrontation. You don't need to explain your entire emotional journey to anyone. You just need a few simple, consistent phrases that you can use when boundaries need to be set. That doesn't work for me, but I appreciate you thinking of me. I have some things I need to focus on right now. Let's plan to talk later this week. I hear that you're frustrated. I still need to stick with what I said. Practice these in the mirror. They will feel awkward at first. They will feel unkind, but they aren't. They're honest, and honest is always kinder than resentful. Step 3. Build your intentional inner circle. One of the most liberating things about retirement is that you get to choose, truly choose, who you spend your time with. Not who you happen to sit next to at the office, not who lives on your street, not who you were assigned to be friends with by circumstance. Start thinking about the people who genuinely light you up, the ones who ask about your new interests with real curiosity, the ones who make you laugh without making you feel small.
The ones who send you a message on a random Tuesday just to say they're thinking of you, and after you hang up, you feel good. That's your circle. Invest there. Water those relationships. Let the others gently, gracefully fade to the appropriate distance. Step 4. Give yourself permission to change. Retirement is a transformation. You are not the same person you were at 40 or 50. You've earned the right to need different things, want different things, set different limits. Some friendships will evolve with you. Some won't. Both outcomes are okay. Grieve the ones that don't, that's allowed. But don't sacrifice your peace to avoid that grief. The uncomfortable discomfort of letting go is temporary. The cost of staying stuck is ongoing. Here's the thing I want you to hold on to as you close this video. You are not being dramatic. You're not being selfish. You're not being a bad friend. Recognizing that a relationship is no longer serving you is one of the most mature, self-aware things a person can do, and doing something about it, gently, thoughtfully, but firmly, is not betrayal, it's wisdom. You worked your whole life for this, for the quiet mornings, for the slow afternoons, for the space to actually breathe, think, and be yourself. You did not survive decades of commutes and deadlines and demands to hand all of that over to someone who makes you feel small. Protect your peace. You earned it. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, share it with someone you care about, someone who might need to hear it today. And I'll see you in the next one.